Alright, hello ladies and gentlemen. So in today's video we are talking all about some on-trail tips for knee pain while hiking and some really simple things you can do when you're actually on the trail to help keep your knees a little bit happier and a little bit more comfortable. So when it comes down to it, knee pain while hiking, it is one of the most common issues that hikers out there face. And it's something that I help hikers with every single day of my life. Now, the best thing you can do to reduce knee pain, and this is what I do for a full-time job, is making sure that you do the right training and physical preparation prior to your hiking. And if you can build up the right areas, develop the right areas, and expose the body to the right things, you can do absolutely phenomenal things to reduce the likelihood of knee pain in a range of different situations on the trail. However, this obviously does take a little bit of time. It's not an overnight solution. It's not a quick fix thing. It does take a little while to kick into effect. Ultimately, if you do have a hike coming up, say with the holidays around the corner right now, and you're like, "Oof, you know what, the hike is here, and I'm just going to go out really quickly." Or if you're in the process of working through a training process, you're not quite at that stage where you're like, "I'm feeling much more comfortable," then today's video is intended just to talk you through a few really quick things which can make a bit of a difference. That don't really take a huge amount of effort, don't take much time at all, and can make a little bit of a difference. So we're going to be talking through some hiking techniques, we're going to be talking through some gear stuff, and also a few extra tips just to finish off. So ultimately, when it comes down to hiking techniques, there's two really simple things that I recommend to help with knee pain. Number one is controlled pacing and controlled speed. Now, this is something that's so simple, but so many people just overlook it and don't really think about it. Now, one aggravator for knee pain while hiking is going at a pace and walking and hiking at a pace which we're just simply not used to. This can often happen if we're out with friends or a group, and if the friends or the people we're hiking with are just naturally quicker hikers than us, then we have to keep up with them. Now, the tricky thing with this is if you are going at these quicker speeds and you're not used to these quicker speeds, your knee is going to take different forces than it's used to. Which isn't a big deal if it's just a little bit, but if you have to survive a whole day on the trail going quick, this is a really big aggravator. And it may not be like the end of the world. You can build up to this and develop your speed and get yourself better, but if this just happens in the moment, it can be as simple as that way, just to flare up discomfort and not be much fun. So, if you do have a history of knee pain, and if you are going out with a friend or a group who is a little bit quicker than you, then you need to be smart about this. Best thing I can recommend is having a conversation around setting the pace. This can sometimes be difficult to have the conversation, but it's very well worthwhile having. And just to tell the people like, hey, I get a bit of knee pain, and I know I get a bit of knee pain when I go a bit too quick. Do you mind if I set the pace today? They may say yes, they may say no, but you've got to have that conversation. If they say no, then at least sort of say, look, you know what, in certain sections of the trail, I may drop behind. So just bear with me, wait for me, I'll just go at my own pace. This one simple thing can make all the difference. So that's number one, slow pace. Number two is what I call the heel push technique, which is a really simple technique if you do struggle with knee pain on uphill sections, going up steep hills or steep steps. Now, where this comes from is when we are stepping up, when we're going up a hill on the trail, if we're going up steps, one common thing that a lot of people do is they will go up these hills or go up these steps up on their toes. And they'll step while being up on the toes. Now, this isn't a big deal for a lot of people. A lot of people can get away with this, and this isn't a big deal if we do it day-to-day life. However, if we're doing this on the trail, it can sometimes lead to a little bit of discomfort. Because for some people, if we're up on our toes and we're climbing, this ultimately can put a little bit extra pressure through the calves. And the calves will be doing a lot of work, and they do run the risk of going fatiguing early and getting really tired, and that can be an aggravator for pain. On top of this, if we're up on our toes, sometimes this can just put a little bit more pressure through the knees themselves as we're climbing. Again, this isn't the end of the world if you're doing this in day-to-day life. A lot of people do this and have no issues at all. But if you're doing this for hour after hour on the trail and you do have a history of knee pain, this can be a bit of an aggravator. So one thing I recommend in this situation is if you are stepping up a hill or set of stairs on the trail, as opposed to being up on your toes, I recommend trying to plant your foot and try to put a little bit of your weight through your heel itself. It's not like you have to do your whole weight through the heel, but a little bit of a weight. So your foot's flat on the surface you're on, and you feel like you're pushing through your heel a little bit. Now, the idea behind this is if you can push through the heel, this will get the glutes, like the bum muscles and the hamstrings, doing a little bit more of the work and take away a little bit of pressure through the knee and reduce the stress that goes through the calves. So those bigger muscles of the hamstrings and the glutes can take some of the pressure, and the smaller muscle of the calf can still be working, but it won't be doing quite as much. Very, very, very simple, but very effective. Now, realistically, this may not always be possible. This does get a little bit tricky if you're on super steep hills, or if you're on really awkward sized steps, or if you've got a really, really tight ankle joint, which is another factor for knee pain. But essentially, just do what you can here. In the situations that you can do this, go right ahead. It can make a bit of a difference. So that's the two simple hiking techniques. Next up is gear. So three things that I recommend for gear if you struggle with knee pain. And this stuff you've probably heard before, but I'll cover them all. Number one is trekking poles. If you get knee pain on the trail and you're not using trekking poles, do yourself a favor, go buy a pair, get on them. They can take a huge, huge, huge amount of pressure off the knees on downhills, and they are significantly will reduce the pressure out of your knees there. Number two, on top of that, they can also aid your stability and balance. So in certain situations where you may be wobbling around, your knees may be going into weird positions and getting a little bit tired, these can reduce that. And also on top of that is trekking poles can reduce exertion when you're going up hills. So reduce the amount of energy you're using, meaning less fatigue. And fatigue, when it comes down to it, is a risk factor for the flare-up of discomforts. So anything we can do to keep you fresher, keep you having less fatigue accumulate, can go a long way. So I strongly recommend get a pair, use both of them, and I guarantee you if you're not using them, they'll make a big difference. Now, next one. Again, this is something a lot of people have heard before, but a brace, a knee brace. You know, for me personally, I'm not a massive fan on only relying on a brace for your knees. And I always tell my hikers, look, use a brace, it's absolutely fine, but you always want to be doing things behind the scenes to help build this up and help develop the strength of your knees, help develop the support of your knees and all of that. However, saying that, even though I don't want you to entirely rely on a knee brace, not to say they cannot be useful. And they can be just a simple thing to add a little bit extra stability to your knee, make you feel a bit more comfortable, can be great. So I strongly recommend if you do have a history of knee pain, even if you don't use it always, just keep one in your pack. And if you do start to feel those inklings of discomfort, then you can just stop, pop it on, and away you go. Now, you don't have to go out and buy anything like the heavy duty, like Robocop knee brace or anything like that. But even just a light sleeve, which costs you like $20, $30 down your local pharmacy, that can often go a long way. Really recommend it. And then finally on the gear, what I really, really recommend for any hiker who struggles with knee pain on the trail is keeping a tube of anti-inflammatory cream or anti-inflammatory gel in your pack. Now, there will sometimes come times on the trail where we're like, look, I am in pain. I just want some pain relief. Things are uncomfortable. I just want to feel a bit more comfortable so I can get through my hike and enjoy myself, which is fair enough. And many people in this situation will use anti-inflammatories, take some Nurofen, take some whatever, in the pill form, the capsule form. And this can absolutely help, and this can make us feel a little bit more comfortable. But when it comes down to this type of thing, taking oral anti-inflammatories, if we're doing this regularly, meaning we're having multiple doses on the trail, or if we're doing an overnighter or multi-day or a through hike and having to do this all the time, or if we're just hiking every weekend and this is something like a weekly occurrence, it's not amazing. Because these types of things, as much as they can be really effective at reducing pain, if you take anti-inflammatories orally, the anti-inflammatories don't really know where the inflammation, the discomfort is. So it'll just affect the whole body. Now, it's not a big deal if you just use these occasionally when needed, but if it's a regular thing, sometimes it's not ideal. So what I recommend, a better alternative, is having one of these anti-inflammatory gels or anti-inflammatory creams. An example of this is like Voltaren, which you can go down to local pharmacy and get. The beauty of this is you can just get it, rub it on the sore spot, and it will just affect that area. Very, very effective, very, very useful, and you can basically just apply it whenever you need. So I strongly recommend go down your local pharmacy, ask, get a tube for $20 or something like that, and then just keep it in your pack if needed. And then the final thing I want to cover before I wrap up this video is just some simple stretching. Now, a lot of people just naturally think, okay, stretching can help discomfort. And people are naturally like, yeah, that can often help. But if we are getting knee pain, we want to be a little bit smarter than this. And it's not just do random stretching, but be like, you know what can I actually do which can hone in on this area? A really, really simple rule of thumb when it comes to knee pain or any other type of joint pain is essentially if you're getting discomfort in that particular joint while you're hiking, doing a little bit of stretching the muscles above and below the joint is what you want to be aiming for. And if you can work above and below the joint, take a bit of pressure and tightness away from those muscles above and below, that can be sometimes enough just to help things feel a bit more comfortable. So if we're looking at the knee, we want to think above the joint is our quadriceps, our hamstrings, and also our glutes, and sometimes our hip flexors. Below the joint tends to be our calves. So essentially, if you're getting a bit uncomfortable on the trail, just stop, take a moment, and do a bit of this stretching. For example, a quad stretch, really, really simple. You've probably seen this before. Just stop, do 60 seconds of this, and just standing up, holding onto something, stretch away. For the hamstrings, it might just be popping up your foot on like a rock or something and just doing a bit of a stretch here. For your calves, it might just be finding a rock or a step and just doing a bit of stretch here. And literally just doing a minute on each side. So that's 6 minutes in total of those three things can sometimes help. Now, I want to be really, really clear on this type of stuff. If you're stretching for relief on the trail, it's more of a management strategy. It's probably not going to completely relieve the issue, but it's more just sort of reducing things down, helping it feel a bit more comfortable. And depending on the severity of what the discomfort is, you may have to do this every 90 minutes, every 2 hours, every 60 minutes, and it can just give you this short-term relief. Another option is if you don't like stretching, you can do a bit of self-massage. So you can basically get your trekking pole and literally just massage those areas. In the quadriceps, the front of the thighs, sit down, get your trekking pole and rub into that area. For your calves, you could just roll up and down with a water bottle. You can do a little bit of self-massage as well. And just imagine, okay, what do I do with a foam roller if I've ever done any of that before, and how can I apply that? Can be really, really good. But ultimately, hopefully, there's some really, really simple things can help with some immediate relief for discomfort on the trail. So if you do have a hike coming up these holidays, which maybe you're not 100% prepared about, or maybe you're sort of coming around the corner and you're like, you know what, I get knee pain, weather's going to be clearing up, I'm going to be getting on the trail sometime soon, and I just want to be prepared, this type of stuff can make a big difference. As I said before, we always want to make sure we're doing stuff outside of hiking to help build up and support the knee, so making sure we are training properly. And if you want to learn about that, just go down below this video. I'll leave a link for a video which explores this a little bit more detail. But aside from that, hopefully this can give you a few ideas. So with that being said, I think that's enough on today's topic. Hope that helps a few people. And any questions, please just let me know.